Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading video here on my channel. Today is going to be a reading vlog, or this video is going to be a reading vlog. It'll be over the course of a couple days. I'm more than positive of that because if you've seen my last reading vlog type video, it's more of like the 24-hour challenge. You will know that we are sometimes busy and I don't necessarily sit down and read for hours and hours. So we're going to do a whole series, and this is To All the Boys I Loved Before. I found this honestly at a thrift store. I did buy this last one and that was in the haul in the last video. I paid around I think $3 or $4 for this one. Found it in a thrift store. The paperback was $1, the hardback was $2 or so, and I was really excited to pick these up and read these. First book we have is To All the Boys I Loved Before. Second book is P.S. I Still Love You. And then the last book is Always and Forever, Laura Jean. I'm real excited to start this whole series, and honestly I did start the first book, and that was just last night because I finished a longer book, and the book I finished was 658 pages, and it was just, I felt like it would take me so long to read. This, I don't know if it's her writing or if it's because I was almost starting to go into a slump and this book is just helping me pick it back up, but I know the margins for one help, and her writing, it's like very spaced out, it's bigger too, so I feel like I've been kind of flying. I only read for a few minutes and I'm on chapter 14, page 60. Before we get into this actual video, I want to also include another small book haul, which is probably like my third book haul in the last 2 weeks, which sounds kind of bad. I ended up finding 2 different books that are all over Book Talk, all over BookTube, and also are just very hyped up. I almost bought one of these while in Barnes & Noble's while looking for a reading journal, but I decided not to because I feel like Barnes & Noble's is so expensive, and sadly we don't have a half-price books out here. So I only shop at thrift stores, and I told my husband if these types of books would ever hit the shelves, I would buy them. First off, we have The Hotel Nantucket. I think this is the book that everybody was saying if you like the show White Lotus to look into this book. I kind of watched White Lotus. I liked the story behind it. I just didn't like any of the inappropriate parts, and I thought originally it was a actual book, and then I think this is what everybody was talking about and it wasn't an actual book. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong on that. At Barnes & Noble's it was 50% off and the original price was $30, so I would have paid $15. I paid $4.49 for this book. The next book is The Unhoneymooners. I did like the back of this. It kind of sounded interesting. It also sounded unrealistic because I don't know of any wedding couple that would have ever just gave their tickets to their honeymoon away to 2 people. If I paid for it myself, I would not have given up my tickets to go on a honeymoon. But that is this small little haul. We just have those 2 books, and I was real excited to pick these up and start reading these. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the actual reading vlog of To All the Boys I Loved Before series. Don't mind how I look, and also if you can hear a movie, our son's watching Cars. But I wanted to hop in here real quick because I just got page 86, and oh my goodness, it's really easy, really fast to read. It's just, if you don't know, she basically wrote all these letters to all the boys she ever loved, and that was her like closing of, oh, I don't love you anymore. Well, all of a sudden, after her sister, who dated somebody that they grew up with, they were friends, childhood friends or whatever, her sister and this guy dated, she broke up with him so she could go overseas to Scotland to go to college. But the issue is Laura Jean wrote a letter a long time ago because she had a crush on him. All of a sudden, all these letters that she apparently wrote all got sent out. So the first guy, somebody who came and helped her on the side of the road to a point when she got into a wreck, he talked to her, and there was just this little, not necessarily argument, but that was the first time she found out that all these letters had been sent. For the second one, the guy, whose name ironically is Josh, came over, and Josh was basically trying to like talk about this letter to her. Well, finally he wasn't able to catch her, so he ended up seeing her at school. He stopped by her locker because she was having trouble with her locker, and he basically was just saying like, did you write this? Do you still have feelings for me? Stuff like that. And she all of a sudden comes back and she says, yep, I'm dating someone I really like, so don't worry about this. That's a total lie. She's not dating anybody. Because I remember this movie or movies coming out, kinda. I remember the trailer for it now, but I never watched it. I thought it was interesting, but I wanted to read the books first. Did not know these were the books. Finally got the books because I found them in the thrift store, started to read them, and now it's like, I don't know if it's gonna be a love triangle, but I'm just like, why? Why did you have to lie? Just say, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I wrote these letters as like a closing statement to why I don't necessarily love anybody or liked anybody. I had a crush because I don't know why she lied. So now it's like that where you get the on your toes almost feeling to read more because she decided to do this lie, but it's also not necessarily stressful, but it's just like, oh, like why did you do that? Because now I feel like there's gonna be not necessarily a love triangle, but there could be, but I just feel like the lie is gonna backfire no matter what, because lies always backfire. I don't know why people lie so much. All right, don't mind my hair. I just got out of the shower not too long ago and I just did a quick little throw up. Didn't do anything to it, not even brushed it. I want to start off by saying I finished this book, To All the Boys I Loved Before, and I did start on the second one. P.S. I still love you. So we are going to talk a little bit about this first book, and I'm pretty sure when I first left off, it was saying how Josh, her sister's ex-boyfriend technically, came to school and he went to ask Laura Jean if basically she still liked him, and he was going to try and talk about the letter, but of course she kind of chickened out and she decided to lie and say she had a boyfriend when she didn't. Long story short, she ran to Peter, jumped on him, and also kissed him in the hall to prove that she didn't like Josh anymore. And that's because Peter also got one of the letters. She picked one of the most popular people in the school to do this with, but of course she wanted to do a lie and she stuck to it. Later on, she told Josh that they were gonna break up because Peter was still stuck on his ex, Genevieve, of like a couple years. Peter happened to tell Josh that no, they were going steady, or at least they were dating. You got to see that whole point of view of them now officially after they made a contract. They were fake dating. So everything pretty much was off and on good. She had the whole, she was worried. She was so happy to set everything straight with Josh so they could be back to friends basically. And then hopefully Genevieve would leave Peter alone. But she was also so scared because Genevieve, of course, used to sabotage people who dated Peter because she only wanted him. Eventually they go on a ski trip together and they almost broke up before, and they both find out they both like each other to a point. Laura Jean decides to go to the hot tub. Basically, it's right before curfew. She hops in the hot tub with basically her nightgown on, no socks, no shoes, and she didn't want to go skinny dipping, and also I don't think she brought a bathing suit. So she and Peter were sitting there in the hot tub making out. Somebody decided to start the rumor, which I feel like we all know who it would have been. It was Miss Jealous started a rumor that they were not just making out in the hot tub. It led to a lot more. So everybody then thought she wasn't a goody two shoes and she wasn't innocent, which it wasn't what it seemed like. And the book ends after they break up, Peter and Laura Jean, and she decides that, you know, since they both like each other and there was this little bit of drama, she does want to make it work. So the book actually ends with her writing him another letter, and it just says, Dear Peter, which I thought was really, really cool, really kind of cute. So then we start P.S. I Still Love You, and that starts off with that letter, which I love the font. I love everything about how each person who writes a letter, they have a different font, and it's both of them are different than the actual font inside the book. I think it's so unique and so cool to read. So she basically starts this letter and she's kind of like trying to figure out how to give it to him, and then eventually she goes over to his house and they talk and they kind of get in like a little bit of an argument, but then she goes to leave and Peter's like, wait a minute, let me see what's in your pocket. He takes it out and he ends up seeing it's a letter, and he's like, why didn't you just give this to me from the start? So then they went from fake dating to actually real dating, and now they are real dating. But of course, going back to school, there was a video of them in the hot tub. Somebody took a video of them making out, but they kept editing it so it looked way worse than it really was, and it got sent around multiple times. And of course somebody hacked into a PowerPoint and it became one of the slides, and for some reason the school didn't necessarily do anything about it. I have no clue what her school was like and why, unless if it's just because of how Jenny wanted to write the book. But I mean, it does give a little bit of insight. I did enjoy this book with that. So far I'm on page 292 out of 337. I wasn't going to read that much yesterday. I was just gonna slightly read and mainly clean the house, and then at the end when my husband was playing games, I read a crap ton, and I wasn't even on page 60 yesterday, so I read over 200 pages basically. I really enjoyed this book. Like, it's really fast to get through. Right now I'm at the point where Laura Jean and Peter, after they were going so good and they were doing so many great things together, all of a sudden there was just so much stuff happening with Peter and Genevieve. They both broke up, and then he got her for Valentine's Day the locket from his mom's antique store that she wanted for so long, and her dad gave her a gift card, and he said that the locket was actually sold somewhere, so she thought she'd never see it again. He ended up getting it for her and gave it to her for Valentine's Day, and then after they broke up, he said, I want the necklace back. And I am not gonna lie, that would have hurt me. I would have been so upset and devastated because I'm a very sentimental person. There's multiple things that I've kept from my past, and I could not imagine getting rid of any of those things. Something that's special, like something you looked at for years and years on end, and then it never sold, and when it finally did sell, you thought you were never gonna see it again, and then you ended up actually getting it to own, and then it's being basically taken back. Even if it was expensive, I get it, it's expensive. The whole, when she was talking about how her and Peter sat next to each other, but they went from talking every day because they were dating to all of a sudden after the breakup, they never talked. Peter still came, picked up Kitty for basically her birthday to ride in his Audi. I'm pretty sure because it's a coupe, it might be a TT or something similar. I have no clue because it's not a full description, but basically it's just an Audi coupe. There's just a bunch of stuff. I'm at that point where it's like trying to figure out, because he was still trying to deny or protect to a point Genevieve, because he knew she was the one who originally recorded and sent out the video of them in the hot tub, and for whatever reason he kept going over there. He kept saying she had family issues, but Genevieve has a cousin that's still best friends with Laura Jean, and her cousin said there's nothing that she knows going on in the family. So it's one of those where I have my suspicions of what's going on, besides the fact of like manipulation. I understand that, but I feel like if anything is truly going on, I have my suspicions, and it's something that is going to blindside. And then also Laura Jean, she sent out 5 whole letters. One of them was to a guy who isn't into girls. The second one was Peter. Third one was Josh. This other guy was, I think Kenny was his name, and he was from a church camp. And then the last one was a John, I can't remember his name, Ambrosia? She sent out the letter to him as well. It went to his old house, and then because of the people who lived in his old house, they forwarded it to him. So he got to see that months later, and he wrote back. While technically Peter and Laura Jean were still together, they were just kind of on the outs a little bit. After they broke up, he was kind of trying to help her a little bit, but like staying far distance. And then all of a sudden he discloses how, because they kissed when they were really, really young, like 8th grade, I do believe. They were playing spin the bottle, and he was talking about how he still likes her and he always liked her, and the letter was just super sweet. So now it's getting that love triangle to a point, I feel like, because there's always the potential of her going back to Peter, or there's the potential of John, or maybe even somebody else, but I feel like it's between the two, John and Peter. And I'm honestly not sure which one I rather have. I like when Peter and Laura Jean were actually going good. I felt like he was so sweet. It didn't really matter what he did. I felt like there were times where he was super sweet, but I just know that sometimes some people can be super sweet and then turn around and not talk to you for a while, or just act completely not like your boyfriend. So I don't know. I don't know if it's the whole he's still in love with his ex, or if Genevieve's just got him so manipulated, or if there's something seriously going on. So obviously I'll have to read a little bit more. I will finish it today since I don't have that much left, and then I will start on the last one, which is Always and Forever, Laura Jean. So this is my update. I finished one book. I'm on the second book, almost done with the second book. And pretty much it's been like a roller coaster. I have no clue what to rate these. I'm gonna leave that till the end of the video to rate them, because I'm kind of conflicted, just because not necessarily immature, like I can't stand to read them. They're very fast, easy reads. I've been enjoying them. I like how I can read 60 or more pages within an hour. It's super easy, because some of these chapters, there's times where the chapters are like 5 pages long, like 5 full front to back, and then there's other times where it's literally only a page, like only front to back. I'm so curious, and I just wanted to do a little bit of an update and just say basically what my thoughts were, give spoilers of course, but go through what I read and then say that I am about to finish the second book. Alright, everybody, I want to do one final update on this whole series because I officially finished both P.S. I Still Love You and also Forever and Always Laura Jean. I just want to talk about the ending real quick about this one, and then I want to try and kind of talk real quick about the last book. So the ending of this book, basically, they did get back together, and also the whole Genevieve situation got resolved. It was basically a secret that I'm not going to necessarily spoil, but it was a secret within her family, and it was just like her immediate family, so mom and dad, basically. So then we hop into the third and final book, and this is then all of a sudden zoom past to the very next year. We skip a whole year. They are seniors, they're getting ready for college, they've been dating for a year, and there was the potential of the love triangle with John, but then all of a sudden the book ends and there was no more John, and in this book there's no more John. He has a girlfriend. This took me a few minutes to kind of get into, a very long time, probably around 100, maybe 150 pages, because I was starting to feel like it was going to be a lower rating, because I almost felt like all of this could have been summed up into an epilogue. I think it's really cool how we got to have more information, more detail about her going to prom with Peter, about her dad finding somebody and getting married, and some other things that happened inside this book. But at the same time, I just felt like at first I was just kind of confused because there was like nothing really going on. It was just happy ever after living their life, and then there was the whole drama about not getting accepted into certain colleges, and then Laura Jean finally gets accepted to a college. It's not her preferred one, and she talks about transferring, and then later on down the line she ends up getting into one that she actually would have preferred, and then when she talks about going there instead, Peter gets upset, and there's other things that happen like between his mom, Peter, and Laura. It's just basically people inputting their 2 cents when maybe they shouldn't have been. Thankfully at the end, because they start to get on the outs and you think that they're gonna break up again because there's a lot of drama, then at the end they both decide that they could do this, they could go to college, they could both stay together, they both can be faithful, and they both have a new contract that Peter wrote inside of her yearbook. Going to college, they have this whole new contract, and basically it just ends with like a nice happy ever after. Overall, this series did not necessarily disappoint me. I did feel like at times I was either feeling like it was a little bit more for a younger age or a little bit weird because I was getting pulled back to high school, and I didn't necessarily have really bad times at high school. I enjoyed my high school years. I had one less than everybody else because of when I was graduating. So I didn't ever get to have a senior year. My junior year was my last year. I do know the stress of trying to find a college, even though I actually never went to college. I just got into a college so I could graduate early, and I went into basically blue collar work. This whole series kind of made me go back to that and not necessarily feel stressed, but definitely remember the feelings I had, remember the excitement, and just how I totally was back then. To all the boys I loved before, I did rate this one 3 stars, and that's honestly just because I did not appreciate the whole lie. I love the plot, I love the whole story about her letters that she wrote and then randomly getting sent out. I thought that was unique because before this series, I don't think I've ever heard of something like that. But I didn't like the lying and then the fake dating. I wasn't a fan of fake dating because that's still technically lying, and even though the lie never necessarily backfired, I still feel like there's a time and a place, and you shouldn't probably lie 99% of the time. So I did rate this one 3 stars. P.S. I Still Love You, I rated 4 stars. I actually enjoyed this book a lot. I liked the little bit of drama that was in it, but they went from fake dating to real dating this whole time. Towards the end, I was not ready for a love triangle. I don't appreciate those at all, and thankfully that did not happen. I did enjoy it. I flew through this one, well, to a point, because I was still very busy. I still cleaned the house multiple days. I still went places, so I didn't sit down and read these in one sitting. The first book took me probably 6 days to read because I was just casually reading it. This one took me 2 days, and then Always and Forever Laura Jean only took me a day to read. I read like 250 pages within one whole day. I rated this one as well 3 stars, and I wasn't upset with the ending. I did kind of like it. I just didn't appreciate the Peter's mom, what she kind of said, and I am a firm believer in if it's your relationship, you guys fix it yourselves and you work on it together. You can sometimes get help, but other than that, you don't need to bring other people in. They don't need to know your relationship. And so when Peter's mom said what she said, I just basically wanted to tell her to bug out. The whole college being like, oh well, we have to potentially break up, and how Laura Jean was stressing about that. I don't care about that. I love long distance relationship. I loved it. I trusted my husband when we were in a long distance relationship, and still when we are, because with him being on the Thunderbirds, he leaves all the time. He's 200 days out of the year gone. I think that if you can try hard enough, you can make anything work. And this whole like, oh well, we have to break up because we're going 2-3 hours apart. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, it might take some extra time, but you're gonna get used to it, and it's not that big of a deal to be long distance. It's actually fun, and it makes it more like a bond and memorable when you finally get to meet up. And any of the military spouses can understand that with deployments and anything where people just leave for a very long time. This book, I was really conflicted on what I should have rated it. This book, since I did rate it so fast and it was so easy to read, I wanted to put it 4 stars, but since the beginning, I just really didn't care much for, like, I felt like I liked the information, but I just felt like it could have been summarized, or it could have been an epilogue. And then all of a sudden, when we started getting more detail into the book, I then was getting more into it. So I did just rate it 3 stars because of that. Overall, for these books, I read a total of 1,017 pages. The first one has 355 pages. The second one has 337 pages. And then the last one has 325 pages. And I did enjoy how each book had a few less pages than the last one. I felt like that helped me speed through a little bit faster. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope I did an okay job at kind of reviewing. I know I gave a lot of spoilers, and I kept some spoilers a little bit more secret. Since this was my first time reading this series, and I've seen it all over TikTok, all over YouTube, and Instagram, I just thought I would finally hop into it since I did find it at a thrift store, and I was so excited to read it. And overall, the series is probably around a 3-star rating for me. I don't do halves. If I did halves, it would be around 3.5 star. I did enjoy it a lot, but it's not one of those that I think is gonna stick with me forever. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see y'all next week, and God bless.